The New York Yankees had a historic first half to their season. They were on pace to win over 120 games, and right before the All-Star game, they kind of hit a little roadblock and they lost a couple games, but that's all right because they're still on pace to win over 100. Even if they finish with a 500 record the rest of the way through, they'll win over 100 games. So everything's great in Yankee land, right? They're going to win over 100 games. They're set prime for the playoffs. They're good. But there may be one team that they can't beat going into the playoffs, and that team is the Houston Astros. This season, the Astros have played the Yankees 7 times, and the Yankees have only won 2 games out of those 7. They really have not been good against the Astros. The Astros look like the Yankees' dad. At one point, the Houston Astros threw a combined no-hitter against the New York Yankees. So it's clear, the Yankees have to change something in order to win against the Houston Astros. And with this trade deadline, this is a perfect time to do so. Like I said, the New York Yankees are going to cruise into the playoffs with ease. But if they don't make any moves at this year's trade deadline, they might have trouble. They will have trouble going up against the Houston Astros in the playoffs. Therefore, you need to make moves now in order to beat them in the playoffs this year. This is the year. This is the year you have to win the World Series if you're Brian Cashman. You have to go all in. You can't hoard your prospects like you usually do. You have to go all in. There's players on the market that won't be available for much longer. You need to go all in right about now. And in today's video, we will talk about all of the Yankees' needs going into the trade deadline and what I think they should do moving forward. To start off, before I talk about the players that I think the Yankees should get, let's talk about the positions that I think they'll need to get. And I think they'll need to add an outfielder because Joey Gallo in the outfield just isn't cutting it. They might have to trade him at the trade deadline in order to bring somebody in. But I think if you replace Gallo, maybe even substitute Hicks with some guys sometimes, I think a new outfielder would be good. And of course, a starting pitcher. You know, the Yankees, their rotation was top of the line. That's why they were winning all the games at first. But it's starting to diminish with people getting tired. Luis Severino going on the IL, Jameson Taillon wearing down, Nestor Cortez coming back down to earth. So with that being said, they are going to have to improve in the starting pitching category. And lastly, I think they need to add maybe 1 or 2 bullpen pieces. You know, Michael King going down for the whole entire season. Not really sure what you're getting out of Aroldis Chapman. Clay Holmes might come back down to earth at some point. So you don't really know what's in store. So that's why I think getting someone like a Daniel Bard or maybe a Daniel Robertson might be a good idea, or a Scott Barlow. Those guys could definitely help out the bullpen. Definitely, for sure. So let's get into the first player we're going to talk about that could fill in a need for the New York Yankees, and that is Ian Happ. Before I get into Ian Happ, let me just clarify. I am going to have a couple of outfielders on this list just because I'm not going with specifically one of them. I'm just covering a need and those players that might be able to fill in that need for the Yankees, and then I'll tell you which ones I want when I'm done. So yeah, Ian Happ, he's on the Chicago Cubs, and he's a switch-hitting outfielder, and he really has grown a lot as a player this year. He was in the All-Star game. He was an All-Star, and he's on a team that really isn't contending, so they are going to look to shop him. He is going to cost a lot, but I think you're willing to give up the prospects for Ian Happ, and he's a really good player that could really help out that lineup, you know, give some diversity with being being a switch hitter. So yeah, I think Ian Happ would be a perfect move, and with that left-handed swing, he could shoot some into the short porch, so he might hit a couple more home runs than he does in Wrigley Field. So I think Ian Happ is a perfect fit, and he already works with John Boy Media, so I think it would be perfect. Next up, we have Andrew Benintendi. This is more perfect for the player side, but for reality side, it's not as perfect, being that he's not vaccinated. He won't be able to play against the Toronto Blue Jays, but articles have come out recently saying that he is willing to get vaccinated if he would be shipped somewhere in the East where they have to play the Blue Jays a lot. So with that being said, I think he would be a perfect fit for the Yankees as he produces that contact batter from the left-handed side that the Yankees have been desperately needed. You know, they went out and got Joey Gallo and Anthony Rizzo last year, and that helped them with their left-handed balance, but they don't hit for contact, especially Gallo. He's hitting 160, so adding an Andrew Benintendi is definitely a breath of fresh air as he is hitting over 300. Doesn't have power, only has 3 home runs, but that's all right when he's putting up averages like 300 to 310. I think right now he's somewhere in the 319 area, so he is very good with the bat. Just power might come along as well, being that he's a left-handed hitter in that short porch. You never know. So yeah, and he has experience in the playoffs, where, you know, with Boston, and I don't think he would cost as much either. And the next person we're going to talk about is everyone's favorite. I know he's my favorite. I would love for him to come to the Yankees, and that is Juan Soto. Juan Soto is only 23 years old, and he recently rejected a 15-year, $400 million contract that would put him in the Washington Nationals' hands for really the rest of his career, which he rejected. Obviously, he doesn't want to be a National anymore. You know, there was a whole controversy with that. Go look at my other videos of Juan Soto, and you'll know why. But so with that being said, he's definitely going to get shipped. Yankees are kind of the front runners right now, but obviously they might drop out being that he's so expensive. They might drop out of the race, but I think he'd be a perfect fit. You get him, you sign him to a long-term extension. Even if you give him 15 years, he'll still be like 37 when that contract ends. So that would be perfect. 37, 38 years old when the contract ends after 15 years. You can get a decade of prime Juan Soto, and he is one of the best hitters in the game. Left-handed swing. He hits for a high average, hits for pop. He's right now sitting at 20 home runs. He won the home run derby. Right now his batting average is at 250, so not the best, but he's usually at above 300, 320s usually. So he is an absolute great hitter. He walks so much. He has a great eye at the plate. Doesn't really strike out. He is the perfect hitter that you want if you're the New York Yankees. This is somewhat of a fever dream, being that the Yankees probably won't make this move because it'll probably cost their top 3 prospects at least. They did say they're willing to take on Patrick Corbin's salary in order to make the price a little less expensive. But even if you do that, you're still going to have to give up a lot. I would do it for Juan Soto. I don't know if Brian Cashman will. As I said before, he kind of likes the prospect hug. But for Juan Soto, I would definitely make the deal, and I hope he does. We'll find out soon. So with all those guys being said, I think that is what you have to worry about for offense. If you're Brian Cashman, you really have to worry about left field or the outfield just in general. Getting one of those guys, you know, Andrew Benintendi, Ian Happ, or hopefully Juan Soto. One of those guys would definitely do the job out there in the outfield. And then with the last position that we'll talk about is starting pitching, and I know you all know who I'm going to talk about, and that is Luis Castillo. He is the front runner for me, who I want to come to the Yankees. Him and Juan Soto are right there neck and neck. I wish they could do both. Maybe they could do both. You know, like I said, in a fever dream, they can do both. I don't think it's realistic, but we're going to talk about him anyway. Luis Castillo, he would be a perfect number 2 to put right behind Garrett Cole, who is obviously our ace. And if Castillo comes, it's like 1A and 1B. Castillo is that good. He's also going to take a lot in the prospect category to get him over to your team. He already said he's willing to cut off the dreads if he comes to the Yankees, because we all know their rule. But I love this guy. Not only is he great, he seems like he has a great personality. I watched him against the New York Yankees, and he was having fun out there. You know, it was kind of like an audition for him. And even during the All-Star game, he's smiling. He's doing all these things. I really like the way he plays. He gets all confident on the mound when he strikes out somebody. I like him a lot. And like I said, he is great. So if you can get him, that would put your rotation in prime top 1 or 2 rotations in the game right there. That would be really, really good. But yeah, another guy you can go with is Frankie Montas. You could also do that. I would like Luis Castillo a little bit more. It might be cheaper to get Montas, but he's not as good as Castillo. So I would want to go with Castillo, but you can go for Montas. So yeah, and some names that also been thrown out there, Zach Gallen maybe, or like someone on the low side like Martin Perez from the Texas Rangers, something like that. But yeah, those are all the needs. I think starting pitcher, relief pitching, and an outfield bat. That's all you need. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. See ya.